Welcome everybody to Letter Now, a podcast where we nurture the hand lettering masters of tomorrow, today. My name is Martina Flor. I'm a lettering artist, author, educator, and the host of this show. And today I have an awesome guest to talk about going viral and becoming famous. We're going to answer questions like, how do you go viral with a project? How do you get attention towards your work? How it's like to be a celebrity? How do you find great opportunities? And to discuss all of this, I have my guest and friend Giuseppe Salerno with me. Giuseppe is an Italian calligrapher and type designer. He lives between Valencia and Torino, and together with his partner Paco Gonzalez, he runs Resistenza Type Foundry. So, hello, Giuseppe. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Martina.
It's so good
Thanks
talking
for
to you.
inviting me.
Amazing. So I've been friends with Giuseppe for years. We first met in Berlin, and I invited today Giuseppe because we started at that time, I don't know how many years ago, actually, 10
9
years
years ago.
Oh my
9
God.
years. It was 2012.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
So 9 years ago, we started a project called Lettering versus Calligraphy. And this project went viral, right? And got us a lot of attention and turned us into celebrities for a while, I would say. And it got us some speaking gigs, and we actually felt like celebrities for a while. Oh, that was my feeling, actually. And Giuseppe, I want to tell you that today I asked on social media if someone had heard about this project, and 42% of the audience, 58% of the audience said yes, and 42% said no. So I'm pretty proud because after 9 years, they still recognize the project. But I guess with 45% of people not knowing about the project, we're not celebrities anymore.
Well, I mean, that means also that during those 9 years, the project hasn't been advertised. I mean, we talk roughly maybe when we have some birthday of the project or some pictures, but during those 9 years there were no updates of lettering versus calligraphy. So I would say it's a pretty good result for what we get.
Yeah, so for those that don't know the project, you can go to letteringversuscalligraphy.com. And we're going to speak about the project later and explain a little bit what it was about. But for those, listening and watching on YouTube, I want to first start by introducing a little bit about the project. So the project was essentially an online battle. So I met Giuseppe in Berlin, and Giuseppe was doing calligraphy intensively at that time. If I remember wrong, I think you were super into calligraphy at that time. You were practicing every day, right?
Yes, I was also running some classes too, some workshop in Berlin.
That's true, and then we met in a typographic meeting of the community here in Berlin, and I was really starting with lettering, so we started to exchange about the work we did at that time, and and we started kind of to hang out, right? And this is how this project was born. We started saying hey, why don't we do a project where you write letters with your calligraphy and I draw letters with my lettering. So why don't we put together a project where we make an online battle, right? And
yeah, I mean, I remember that we decided in a dinner, we were talking about to make a kind of conversation about two different interpretations following one attribute, and you were designing your letter following your point of view, and I was writing the letter following my vision, my hand. Initially, it wasn't a battle.
That's true.
Remember?
That's true.
It wasn't a battle.
Yeah.
What transformed it into a battle, I remember, was the inclusivity of the audience. When I mean, the project came out so popular and viral at the second, third day, and everybody asked to make a voting system. So then transform it into a battle.
Yeah, I remember exactly.
You
Like
remember?
actually, yeah, we actually came up with this idea of like using one keyword. So we were drawing a letter or writing a letter, like a sexy S, for instance, right? And
Exactly.
Giuseppe would write that letter and I would draw that letter. And then we would upload those two letters, one next to the other, to a website, right? And
Yeah.
what made it really interesting for the audience or for the people is that they could vote. They could actually go to the website and decide which one was the best, right?
Exactly.
And I think that also made it very interesting for us because we were friends and we were having a lot of fun, but we also wanted to win, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't really like running for the medal.
yeah.
The first topic, the first target wasn't that one. We were focused on let's see how we can push our limits, and was really a fight into, let's see who make it cooler, who make it better. And often we were uploading our letters, I remember, and we were like, oh no, Martina, I think you can do better. Oh no, Giuseppe, that sucks, making upload another one. We were very into have a very healthy and genuine competition.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember that I think you were one of the people in my life that were really honest in terms of like giving me feedback. You were really like, hey, like, Martina, this doesn't look good. So you can just, repeat, like, do it again. And I
Yeah.
think that really pushed us forward. I think so just to come back to the idea of the project, the idea was that, we were actually having this online battle because the people were voting. And throughout time, like, we were actually doing that every day or every 2 days, like really regular. And and at some point we started inviting other people. So we started people who were moderating, for instance, like, so people from the typography or the typographic industry or the typographic scene, and we were inviting them, like people that we were looking up to, right? Like people we admire, that when they accepted to participate in our project, we were like, oh my God, like these people that, like, this person that was like, has been working on letter design forever and is super well known or whatever, they were saying like yes right away. So these people were coming in either to moderate the fight, so they would give us a medal to one of us, or they were coming. There was a point where we were actually inviting guest lettering artists and guest calligraphers. So we were setting up battles between other people doing lettering and other people doing calligraphy, right?
Yes. And I remember that actually when we got the first feedback, and online people were saying, oh, why don't you add a voting system? Was actually the people from the type community, and we say, yeah, why not? And we ask, why don't you moderate the battles? So it was a conversational thing that at the end they contribute to our project. They felt very like stars at the same time, because for a day they had the power to decide who was running for the medal. So there was like a kind of gamification system behind that. I think it was one of the spices that caught most of the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's actually super interesting from this project, that it wasn't really born with the intention of going viral. And as you said, like it started as an experience or an exploration from two people who were like, interested in that kind of playground. So yeah, and with the interaction with the audience that suggested like, hey, why don't you add like a voting system? We added this voting system, and then things started to escalate, right? So we really, from the moment we started adding this voting system, like we had like, I don't know, at some point we had like 2,000 visitors per day in our website, right? Like, and the things started to escalate, and we started getting more attention towards our work, and we got some gigs, and things started to come in our direction, and that motivated us, I guess, as well. Like getting all this attention is like, it's like a drug in a way, right? Like it's something that is like,
I mean, it's a big boost of self-confidence, especially in a playground where we knew since the beginning that, okay, we are professional, but at the same time, we always say there are so many good and great, amazing calligrapher, and who cares about what they are thinking or what they are saying? You know, we have other skills that and at that time was being so constant into our project that every day we were taking care of adding creativity into our lettering skills and calligraphy skills. So it was a good combination of qualities. And I think was a honest exercise for us that we didn't plan to make that exercise.
Absolutely. And I think what is great about this project, or the great impact that project had on our work, is that when you see the first letter we made in that battle and you see the last ones, is like a world of difference. Like in a very short period of time, we really boosted we really improved our skills. And I think, as you said, it was a combination of everything, like getting attention, getting like feedback from the audience, having this competition factor to it. So I think everything was a great mix of stuff. So as you know, this is a listener-driven show. So as we go down the questions, we're definitely going to continue telling stories about this project, because we have a lot of stories, Giuseppe, about this project. So we're going to move on to the next segment where we listen to voice messages from our listeners. Today we have a question coming from Eric.
Hi. You're pretty well known for your work and pretty exposed. How does it affect it, like the work itself? Like, does it make things easier for you or harder? Or how is it affecting clients and chances for you? Are they coming to you, or you have to still actively chase them? And how is it then with the attention that you get with all of this? Like, do you have to go after it and work for it, or does it come automatically since you're already exposed to a certain degree?
That's so interesting, the question from Eric, because I think the actual question is here whether when you get some sort of recognition or exposure, whether things become easier for you, right? And I have to say that I was hoping that would be that way, and when we got a lot of attention with this project, I hope that things will be super easier for us, and it was in a way super easier. There were a lot of opportunities coming our way, but I think that's so temporarily. Like it doesn't last long, and we often have this impression that people who have a certain or have achieved a certain level in their careers, or the certain recognition in their careers, that things are easier for them, but it's not necessarily like this. And I have to say that when we had this exposure with this project, it became a little bit, I became a little bit addicted to it. So I was seeking for that attention constantly. And I have to say that I also wanted to be there. Like, I wanted to be in that position, and that put me personally a lot of pressure on what I was doing. So my work also improved, because I felt that there were a lot of people, there was a lot of people looking at what I was doing. So I feel that the celebrity label can be positive in that sense, in like putting you in in a position where you have to perform. But it also can generate like this sense of duty, you know. Sometimes I felt that I had to be there because, you know, because I was like well known, or people were expecting something from me at that point, you know. So there was like this double thing, like I want to be here, it's very good to be recognized, but at some point there were also moments where I had to perform kind of all the time for everyone. Like people were asking us to participate in other projects, and like it was hard to say no. And
like,
when you would say no, you felt like, okay, you know, she's too much of a celebrity right now, or she's too much out there. Like, so there's this duality to like having a lot of exposure. How did you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm not a huge fan of over exposure in general. You know, like radio killed the radio star, the video killed the radio star. You know, like sometimes it's also nice to be hidden. Being hidden is also something that can makes you interesting. Not always, but it's also good to stay away a little bit. Otherwise, famous artists, musicians will be always running, but they disappear for a while and then they come back, which is natural. Like everything, like vegetables, they disappear for a while and then they come back next season. There is some kind of natural progress that you have to respect. I think personally, I think that if you can keep going, you can almost burn a little bit some of your time. Maybe you are not taking care of yourself in a mental health way, you know, or maybe you are not taking care about your surround, your family, your sport, your addictions, or other things that you like to, that and makes you other things that creates what you are. So watch out with the addiction of these viral projects. I think it's also nice to release a little bit.
Yeah, and also understand that, you know, there's other ways of validate your work. You know, like I feel that if anyone seeks to have a project becoming viral, is because viral in one sense they are trying to like get attention and get validation over their work. And I think there's other more healthy ways and more successful ways of getting validation, right? And you don't need to like, I always say, like, you don't need to comfort everyone. You don't need to work for everyone. You can just work for yourself or for the people you care about or for people who can really give you feedback. I remember that something that I really appreciate from that project that went viral that we did together is actually the interaction with you. It was so positive for my work, having someone who would be, you know, a friend, but also someone who will give me feedback and tell me like, hey, Martina, this doesn't look good. Like, do it again. Like, I know that you can do it better. And I think that interaction was the strongest to me. You know, this, you know, besides all the buzz that we created with the project, I think that what I can tell others that I learned from that project is that actually the feedback from the people you really care about and that are willing to tell you, to give you the truth or to tell you the truth is much more valuable than having thousands of likes on your picture on Instagram, right?
Yeah, I mean, there is also another component that sorry if I'm interrupting you.
Yeah, sure.
There is another component that it's also, in our case, we were close together. We were close to each other. We were talking online, but we were also seeing each other, which is something that, you know how a message written on your phone from someone else makes you super happy, or can also makes you a little bit, it can be hateful, can be not exactly what you were expecting, but you don't have a voice, you don't have a face behind, you don't have eyes. We were looking each other, we were talking, we were discussing in a real environment, and also transforming that into the real platform. And it's something that not many projects right now have. I always say to the calligraphy community when I go randomly to some classes, I was like, yeah, guys, live out to the reality. Live out to the reality. You can have two different things. Sometimes they meet together, social network and real life, but it's also nice to spending time with designers, real time.
Yeah.
I remember for me, working with you in that project, I was so fascinated by the way you were holding a pen. I was like, she was so way different than what I hold, a technical pen, an automatic pen. And it's something so basic, but you don't see that online.
That's true. Yeah, but what was that thing? I don't really remember that.
I remember the way. Let me see if I have.
For those that are watching on YouTube, they probably get to see this, but I would try to describe what Giuseppe is doing for those listening.
Yeah, I mean, usually I remember that you were holding the automatic pen very far from the point. It wasn't like very, very close. Exactly. And I'm much more like that.
That's true.
I remember you were writing, you were drawing like that, and I was like, oh my God, what a control. I don't have that control from
crazy.
I'm talking about automatic pen, not talking about calligraphic tools, which is totally different thing. And I still have the photogram, the pictures of that moment that you were sketching on your paper, and I was like, she holds the pen so differently. That's amazing, that's amazing. Something that you don't see in a real, in a social media or in a digital environment.
That's true. Sometimes I feel that social media, or in general, like the digital environment, or like the internet, when you get to see a picture or a video, like an isolated video of something, and you're missing all what's around this. Like, how did that person got to do that? What was that person thinking, or where was that person sitting when creating that? All the context is missing, right? And this is, I think, what you mean here, that it was not only about creating something at that time, but it was also about exchanging and seeing how others do that, and that personal interaction really made a difference. And like, going back to Eric's questions here, I think there's something to learn about that. And, the question was more about, like, how do you get attention, or like, actually, when you have a certain recognition in your career, if things get easier. And what I could always say is that, or what I could give you as an advice, is that you get used to, that you always train yourself to reach out for opportunities, and to reach out for other people and collaborators and peers and clients, that you train yourself and you train or you acquire people skills, so that you can create these connections, like the connection that we created with Giuseppe, because these are the connections that really matter. The connections where you can talk to the person, you can see how they work. Even when it comes to client work, like, when you can start a conversation with the client is when a project is likely to happen, right? So, because I see like a lot of people like looking for clients on social media, and I think we have a question about this for the podcast today. I see people like looking for clients on social media, whereas I think, or for collaborators on social media, where I think that oftentimes it's more about like starting a conversation with someone and like reaching out to someone and meet and talk, even on a Zoom call, than actually trying to reach thousands of people, right?
Yeah.
And I would say that it doesn't matter if you're well known or not. I think these people skills you should always keep in your core. That even when you're
Definitely.
known or not, or even when you have a certain recognition or not, that you are always thriving or trying to reach out to other people, because these are the connections that will really influence your life. Totally. And I think we totally learned from something from that project, that was like, after all that attention, all those likes, all those votes, what stays is like this, like this connection that we have. I know that I can trust you if I need to show a project to someone. Like, we had that interaction and we keep on having that relationship. And I think that's what matters the most, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there is a sincere line that has to be. It doesn't have to be connected with professional results. I mean, we are talking about if the blue is blue and someone see as green, you will say, "Hey, man, this is not exactly what you were thinking. This is not what you." So we were very sincere. We were talking about objective opinion about letter shape, spacing, and so many aspects. But what Eric said on the question about chasing clients, and this is also something very interesting for me, for example, and it's also something that I've learned from you. And never chase directly the client. I chase what I like to do, what I want to do. Last years, I study and I improve my skills into this, label design, into wine labels, beer label design. And I didn't expect a client to contacting me. I made some spirits, I made some beers, and some projects now are coming from what I've designed. So never wait for someone who's calling you for what you want to produce, but just produce what you want, what you like. And then from that, it's like a sun that is a satellite sun for you, like that it brings you things in like a passive income. The poster that Martina has done maybe is attracting someone who is looking for art, print art, or stuff like that. But you didn't connect or contact the art store to sell poster. It's the other way around.
Absolutely. So I think that actually highlights the fact that, getting in touch with people or reaching out to opportunities is not only about like connecting directly with that people, but also being prepared for that, like, doing the work before, kind of like having something to show, having done some work before, so that when you find those opportunities or when you meet these people, you have something to talk about with that person, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And
so
I also remember. Sorry.
Yeah.
I also remember that when we met and we were knowing each other, the first day we were already carry things to each other. Like you were carrying a business card, a card or something that you print. I was carrying my book, and it's always something that I recommend to new designers. Carry your things with you. If you design things, carry those designs with you. If you do whatever, illustration, whatever, but bring them with you always. Show what you have. Don't keep them only into a screen.
Absolutely. And also that's such a good way to start a conversation. In previous episodes, we spoke about this, like how to start a conversation with someone and how to go over that first that breaking that ice or breaking the ice, right? And I think for artists, we have that tool. We can show our art and we can start conversations with people that are alike or not, but like from the things we do, we can start telling stories, right? So,
Sure.
Giuseppe, we are gonna move on to the inspirational quote segment. Where we prepare a quote for our listeners, actually. So we all love quotes, you know that, Giuseppe, especially lettering artists and calligraphers. And in this section, we do our best to answer questions from our listeners with a quote. We later put these quotes on our show notes so that listeners can share them on their social media. Giuseppe, the truth is that in this segment, we actually continue speaking about our stories and answering the questions. And then if there's a quote or you say something that looks like a quote, we will put it on the show notes later, right? So don't worry, we will make you sound smart.
Okay. I think I have one.
Amazing. So let's move on to the question from Lydia on Instagram. Lydia is asking, how do I get my work noticed? I try to consistently post on social media, but doesn't seem to bring results or bring me clients. So Lydia, we were just talking about this, and I have a quote for you that I normally say to my students and my coaches. Your followers are not your clients. And I see often people that are starting with their freelance journey and stuff that they invest a ridiculous amount of time on social media. Like if it was the place to network and find clients. And as a general rule, I would say that your followers could eventually buy things from you if you have an online shop or an online class. But hiring someone or someone hiring you usually happens at another level, it happens somewhere else. And in my experience, what you need to do is to start conversations with people and like one-to-one conversations. So find ways to start those conversations and show them what you're capable of. But you're, spending ridiculous amount of time on social media to find clients is perhaps not the way the sustainable way to build your business as a freelancer. And I think, Giuseppe, you're such a good example of this because you're not much on social media, or not, at least not in a consistent way. And I remember that when I met you, it was really inspiring for me because I was starting with my freelance business, and you were making a good living with your design work, and you were also traveling. You were living like the dream life, like the digital nomad that was spending some time in Canary Islands and then coming back to Torino and then spending some months in Berlin. And you had the capacity to work for clients all over the world. I remember you had a client in Alaska, and I was wondering always, how the hell Giuseppe got his client from Alaska, right? So you were also selling your phone. So how does it work when you don't use social media that much, but how do you connect with that people, and how do you, create these opportunities for yourself?
Okay, I will say the luck or whatever, the magic that happened on my beginning was that all the clients that I've been working for, I'm still in contact with them since I was very young. So I started very early working. So all those people, every time I go back to Italy or I come back to Valencia or I move, and as soon as they know that I'm there, they want to meet me for new things. So what I can say is the few new clients that you have, taking care of them, build something for a long-term relationship. Don't be just a provider. Don't be someone who delivers things and disappear like an Amazon product, Build something. And because every client at the end, if it's big or small, can spread the voice. Maybe they have a son, maybe they have a daughter, they create other businesses. Try always to show your your design skills, but also your soul as a person. That most of the time people prefer working with someone that makes them feel comfortable. Not always the best designer, but someone who makes them feel comfortable, and they like spending time with you. So I see that maybe it happens also to you. Sometimes clients are calling you to have feedbacks, and you can sell to them a kind of consultancy, and this is something very important. And in an international environment, I have to say, all the projects that I've been, all the works or posts or things I developed, mostly were not inspired into something worldwide, but it was always inspired into something local. So I'm a person that I consider myself not a great illustrator or a great calligrapher, but I'm a good observer. I like to stare details, and most of the time people are looking for inspirations far, and it's not necessary to go that far. Same things, sometimes I can see when I go to the little town of Italy, and I post some lettering inspiring to something old that I find, it looks new to many people, internationally wise, like in an international environment. And so focus on what you have around, that maybe is the brand that makes you, and some foreigners or someone that is living the other side of the planet can be attracted to that. I'm very attracted to old Argentinian fileteado porteño, all that style. I never knew it before, but I knew when I saw the local people posting to it. But it's not into the books of calligraphy or lettering. You know what I mean? Try to find the power into what you have local. Sometimes there is a church in Torino, a basilica, that there is a big room with all paintings, and there are homage to people that has died, or people that are lost, and they are just gifts. And it's an incredible inspiration, because you see totally different paintings. Someone gives you a flower, someone draws the car accident that you were in, like kind of creepy, but at the same time very creative. And this was always close to where I was living. I discovered very late.
Totally. So sometimes, like, the answer is in what you have around. It's interesting, because I remember that when I was studying graphic design, or I was working as a graphic designer back in the times when I was living in my home country, Argentina, I remember that I used to look at I used to look up to German design as something that I want. It was everything to me, and every design that I would do was using a sans serif and was trying to like be clean and everything. And for me, it was like, well, I want to do that. Although it wasn't my nature, I wanted, that looks so great to me.
Get closer.
Yeah. And then when I moved to Germany, to Berlin, to live here, actually, I started doing something totally different. Like, when you look at my work, for those that are on YouTube, you can see a little bit of my work in the back. My work turned colorful and turned like very expressive, like nothing to do with the, like the German design culture, I would say.
Precision,
Yes. Yeah. And it's
definitely.
It's interesting how sometimes like the answer to your inspiration is around you, and you don't have to try to look alike anything else, but perhaps use whatever you were born into or you grew up into, right? So sorry.
Yeah, for example, everybody admire the Swiss design and all the type culture of Switzerland. But I didn't grow up in such a kind of environment. I discovered the Swiss design when I was already graduated, but first to arrive there, I saw other beautiful lettering, illustration, and graphic design elements, books and stuff that were very inspiring. And at the end, taking care of your background is one opportunity. Then obviously there are some people that are really like into they admire some certain style and they want to live in the Scandinavian design. Fine. But first of all, I think being local is what makes you a little bit stronger.
Yeah, and it can be like the easiest actually, right? So we can move on to the second question that is coming from Beatrice on Instagram. How do you guys go viral with your project, and what does it take to go viral? Beatrice, this is a quote for you that I made. Success lives in what you can control. So the truth is that you cannot control a project going viral or not. It's not in your hands, but it's in the hands of other people, So it depends on the internet, the algorithm. So try to dominate this is just an impossible task. And I feel that causes so much pain to all of us, right? Because we try to create things or to have an impact or to have an effect that is not in our control, right? And that we cannot measure actually. And Teresa, Beatrice, what I can tell you is that, when I read your question, I think that what you mean is that you might be pursuing becoming viral, or you might wish that at some point some of your projects or some of the things you do go viral, right? And this is, as we said before, this can be a measure of success or can be seen as a measure of success. But what I can tell you is that do things that are in your hands, like instead of in the hands of Facebook or Instagram or the likes of your followers, do things that really are in your hands, like try to get that validation from people that are around you, people that you can talk to, people that know you, because you don't need to reach out to 1,000 followers or to 10,000 followers to validate your work. You need to find ways of measuring that yourself, because otherwise you will never be able to measure that, right? Because some other people has the control, some other people has the say about whether your work is good or not, right?
Yeah. I mean, there is one thing that we didn't say, and I think is very important. I mean, being viral doesn't make you a living always,
That's so good.
It's a weapon. It's a weapon because maybe you have to transform that virality into something that makes you finish the month, so it's good that you want to be viral, but that doesn't mean that you're gonna pay your bills.
Absolutely. Well, that's your quote for today. I just wrote it down. So
and then Martina, I mean, for our lettering versus calligraphy project, there were many aspects that we're working on, and was the being constant, was the inclusivity with the audience, was receiving feedbacks and transforming them into something great, putting our knowledge. There were so many aspects. It was a very complex project, but at the same time, I think there is like a percentage of innocence and being naive that is maybe the magic of something viral, because it became viral because you didn't expect, and we did not expect that. We didn't want to create something so viral. We just want to have a good confrontational workshop online.
Yeah, and that's so interesting because if you start a project with the intention of it becoming viral, it's just a huge project, you know. You would never really start it. And I think what made our project perhaps viral, I don't know if we had any control over that, but what I think made our project interesting is that we were approaching it from a very authentic way. We really wanted to do this game between you and me, and eventually things started to escalate. And I think like the goal was not turning that into a viral thing, but to, you know, expand our skills and, like, you know, create a playground for ourselves.
Yeah, maybe show off also what we were capable.
Yeah.
We were capable of doing. So this is the healthy thing. Showing off your skills is always fine. I mean, don't keep any bullets. You know, show what you are able to do, and don't save bullets for the next season or for the next month. No, this is very important. Show what you are capable of, and for sure people will contact you.
Yeah, and I think you said some things or some points that are still really important to highlight, that perhaps when you think of a project that is really meaningful and has an impact, these aspects will probably need to be there. Like the community, the quality of work needs to be there. The inclusivity, so including other people in that project, making it accessible for everyone. So these are things that you can start thinking of when creating a project, because also it will make it fun for you. You know, it should be fun for you. Otherwise, making a project out of nothing, like a personal project, and not having fun with it, like totally loses the goal of creating a personal project, right? But another thing I wanted to say there is that it should also include some sort of like personal interaction with people, where you are not isolated behind your computer trying to do something, but you try to connect with other people in a more personal way. That is not just numbers, but is, you know, you can create conversations with that people. You can meet that people at some point, and you can, generate that interactions.
Also it's also very good to be surrounded by the diversity of designers. You know, there are not only graphic designers that can inspire you. Maybe you have a carpenter that makes beautiful ornamental element that inspires you. So it don't be so ghetto into the design work. Design is wide, it's huge, and it's limited. It's like there's no, it's unlimited. There are no there are so many things that we still haven't known. So there's a lot of material.
Absolutely. And I have to say, Beatrice, that I want to invite you to my private email list, because with the time, I also noticed that I needed more private ways of connecting with people, the same way that I connected with you, Giuseppe, one-to-one. I felt that social media was too unattainable at some point. So I started my own private email list, and as a way of connecting with people in some other way and delivering another kind of content. So Beatrice, I want to invite you to my private email list, where I deliver lettering tips. So every week I deliver a fresh tip to draw letters directly to your inbox. This may be in the form of a trick, a source of inspiration, or a story that might set you in motion. So you can get each new writing delivered to your inbox for free every Friday on martinaflor.com/lettering tips. So lastly, we are going to move on to our Better Now segment. This is our segment where we share something we are happy about, or something that has impacted our lives lately. So Giuseppe, what would you like to share that, you know, made you happy lately? A project, something that, you know, brings you joy right now?
Okay. I'm not a drinker. Okay, I'm not a drink. I like to drink socially in an event, or I love cooking. I love every kind of gastronomic environment. But I discovered that alcohol make people happy. Okay, alcohol makes people happy, and in the last year with Andrea Basile, which is another designer from the south of Italy, I've been involved into some wine labels and projects, including alcohol, and I figured out that when I was bringing my calligraphy or my poster as a gift, people were happy. But when you bring a bottle of wine, a bottle of spirit with your design, it's like the perfect combination, because you can give something that they can taste and they can look at, so
Amazing.
I always admired label design, because I always seen like something very complex, because it's tiny, there are many elements, it's very wide, and now producing, I have already produced many labels for different tiny and bigger sellers in Italy and in Spain. That makes me, I'm super happy with that. I'm very, very happy. It was like one of my little, it's a big achievement for me.
That's amazing. I'm so happy for you. I bet they're also super happy about your designs. On my side, I'm very excited because for some years now, I'm coaching and mentoring other artists and illustrators. And yes, today we close registrations for the new coaching group that I'm taking on. And I'm super excited. I'm always super excited to get a new group with fresh ideas, with fresh projects or fresh business to work on. Because during those 4 months together, I help them build their businesses, their freelance businesses around their skills, right? Nice. So every time there's a new group coming, it's like, who's going to be there? So so I'm very excited about this new edition of the program, and I'm celebrating that here with you today, Giuseppe. So Giuseppe, so this is it, and this is the end of the show. It was so great to have you here with us, seriously, and see you again.
Thank you for inviting me. For me, it was like I knew that this will happen one of those days after our project, and I'm glad it happened.
Amazing. So where can people find you, and also find your projects, or this wine project you're working on, or this spirits? Yeah.
Okay, my website is resistenza.es, because Paco and I have the company here in Spain. And my personal account is Beppe Arts, and our company account is RSZ Type. Okay, I think it will be better to write them down.
Definitely, we're gonna add all of this to the show notes so that people can find you. Giuseppe is not only a great designer and calligrapher, but also he creates fonts with his partner Paco Gonzalez, who was also a very essential part of Lettering versus Calligraphy. He was the person behind the scenes, like looking at the numbers and the CEO and all this stuff. So full credit for him as well. So before we close this episode, this is our 12th episode of the podcast, and I'm so excited about this. Actually, it's just 12 episodes in, but it already feels like a great accomplishment. And I wanted to ask our listeners, if you're listening or watching this on YouTube, to leave us a review of this podcast. You have already listened to 12 episodes, and you get an idea more or less of the value we are delivering together with my guests in this episode. So it would be great if you go ahead and you leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform so that other people can find us. So thank you so much, Giuseppe, again.
Gracias.
So this is it. You can find me, the host of the show, on social networks at Martina Flor on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. If you have a question or comments, go to martinaflor.com/podcast, where you can see previous episodes and find show notes. You can also send us voice memos with your comments and questions about any of the episodes, and we will play them in future shows. You can also watch these episodes on YouTube. You just go to martinaflor.com/YouTube to find them. You can, of course, listen to all our episodes on your favorite podcast platform. This is it for today. If you love this episode, subscribe to this podcast. Thank you all for listening, and see you in the next episode of Letter Now. Bye-bye.